As always, I apologise for the audio, live on a busy road, yeah. If you're looking for a good, budget, small phone, compact phone in 2018, this is probably on your list. Hey guys, my name is Ryan Thomas with FailTech, and this is the iPhone SE, courtesy of my friend Stan on Instagram. So thank you for that, Stan. This is going to be my rundown on the iPhone SE in 2018 and beyond. So if you're not aware, the iPhone SE is fairly based around the iPhone 5S and iPhone 6S. The internals are basically the same as the iPhone 6S. The camera is the same as the 6S, but the front camera is slightly different. The fingerprint scanner is slightly different. The build is obviously more similar to the iPhone 5S. It came in pink or rose gold, and of course, being a smaller phone, there's a smaller battery. That's basically how the iPhone SE is. It fit into Apple's lineup as a budget offering, but also a compact offering when they moved to the larger phones, because a lot of iPhone users really like the fact that it's only 4 inches. They like that small form factor, and for a lot of people, it's still the perfect form factor. But that's the basic rundown on what the iPhone SE is. Now let's go into the details and how it fares in 2018. Let me talk to you about why you should actually consider the phone, and that is, in my opinion, the design. It's so timeless, this design, with its chamfered edges, its flat sides and no camera protrusions whatsoever, make it a great device for taking in and out of your pocket, going running, exercising, anything like that. And because it's a pretty much fully aluminium build, apart from the 2 glass windows in the back, it's actually less prone to shattering compared to something like the iPhone 8, 8 Plus and 10, and more smartphones with the glass backs, which is really nice. And the fact that it's so small and inbuilt there, it makes it almost like you're less likely to drop it because it's so ergonomic, because using this with one hand is an absolute breeze. Unless your hands are minute, you're going to be able to one-hand this and reach every corner with your thumb, absolutely no problem, and I really, really like this design. It's got clicky buttons, even after a couple of years of heavy usage. The toggle switch is nice and firm, and there are barely any scratches on this specific model, and that's because it's so small, you put a case on it and it's not going to add too much heft just because it's already so small, and that's what I really like about the iPhone SE. It makes your life easier because it's so much smaller. And as I alluded to earlier, this is perfect for people who, like me, go for runs or play football or do anything like that, because it can just fit in your pocket. And if you're listening to music, that's great because it's got a headphone jack as well. For software, this thing is going to get iOS 12 absolutely no problem. At the moment, we're using iOS 12 developer beta on this version, and it works well. It's smooth, it's fairly seamless. It's weird because it's a lot smoother than a 5S, but its performance is great. The battery is obviously quite small at just over 1600 milliamp hours. It uses the Lightning connector, no wireless charging, no fast charging, anything like that. But what you do get is a fairly low resolution IPS display, meaning that the battery doesn't have to necessarily work as hard, and you've got a way more efficient system on chip with the A9 chip. I saw battery around 3 hours screen on time. It wasn't amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but people who use a phone this small probably aren't watching heaps of YouTube or playing heaps of games, and are more likely to just have it on standby, which is where this phone excels at. It's really good with its music as well, because of course you don't have to use Bluetooth. Using the headphone jack actually uses less power, so the overall experience of listening to music and music consumption in general is really good on this device, and it's probably one of the best you can get in a phone. Okay, the quality might not be as good as something from LG in the V series, but it's also a lot more handleable than that phone. But like I said, 4 inches isn't a huge display, and this phone is very, very 2012-y even, with huge bezels, a fairly thick looking design, very flat design, no stereo front firing speakers at all. Of course, you've got the headphone jack, which is quite ancient these days, and the display itself is sub 720p, which means it's not going to be the sharpest in the world, but at 4 inches, it's sharp enough. It's about as sharp as an iPhone 8's display, which is, to be fair, pretty good. Because it's IPS, viewing angles are going to be great. However, it does not get nearly as bright as I would like outside, which is something that was an issue when I was actually filming this device. When I was outside, I put the brightness on maximum, and it was still looking quite dim in comparison to the sunny background. Not something we typically get in Cornwall in the UK, but on days like these in the summer, it can be a bit of a hindrance, and you do have to almost create a shadow so you can read the display. The quality of the display itself is good. It is just that brightness, in my opinion, that is going to be the hindrance for it. But bonuses about the display is, 1, it's a lot easier to power in terms of SoC, and 2, it's a lot easier to power in terms of battery life, which enables a smoother and longer lasting experience. The hardware inside the SE is obviously much better than the 5S, including a few things that you might not even think of when purchasing a device like this. Firstly, the connectivity, that is the radios that connect to 4G, to your telephone towers, and also to Wi-Fi, are a lot better in the SE, to the point where it's almost a league ahead. We've got over 200 megabits per second on an AC access point versus about 70 to 90 on the 5S, which makes a huge difference when downloading big games. However, again, this is not a phone that I would expect to download lots of stuff onto. Apart from music, if you've got huge music libraries, this is going to be the phone for you. Talking of the huge music libraries, this thing has 16, 32, 64, or 128 gigabytes of storage. And if you can get that 128 gigabytes, my gosh, is that a densely packed phone. You've got all that storage, you've got a decent amount of processing power, you've got a good camera, all in a smartphone that is tiny and can fit into other smartphones' displays even. I wasn't getting any power off issues, any overheating issues that I have seen in a few forums online, and the Apple A9 chip, coupled with 2 gigabytes of RAM, seems to run the show absolutely perfectly, like I said before, and I've said multiple times now, due to that low power screen. Anything from multitasking to playing games to browsing social media to uploading and downloading is going to work really well on this display and this device, but again, that battery might take a bit of a hit there. But the best bit is, considering it's such a small battery, it doesn't take too long to charge it up. The one thing I have to say about the comprehensive usage experience is that I cannot, for the life of me, get used to that keyboard again. I've been using devices with 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 inch screens, and going back to a device with a 4-inch screen, my thumbs just get in the way and it's higgledy-piggledy. The keyboard and the keys individually are just a bit too small for my usage, but people with tiny hands, especially my girlfriend, seems to absolutely love that keyboard for some reason. We tested Antutu and we got scores that were basically standard across iPhone 6s, 6s Plus and SE ranges, meaning that you should not get a hindrance in performance there, which is fantastic after a couple of years. And going forward, I believe you're going to get quite a few software updates, because despite the old nature of the design of this phone, it's actually a lot newer in terms of its internals. And now we get to the camera. Well, actually, I need to address both cameras. Let's start off with the 1.2 megapixel front shooter. It's not very good. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it's a bad camera. It's really not comparable to anything in 2018. You know, we've been having 2 megapixel, 5 megapixel, 8 megapixel, 16 megapixel front cameras in these camera phones for like ages now, 2-3 years. And 1.2 megapixels, if you're going to take selfies, absolutely a no-go for this one. Unfortunately, I cannot recommend the selfie camera, it's just not good enough. The rear camera, however, is a bit of a beast. For a phone this small, you kind of expect some low-end camera specs, but we have got a 12 megapixel sensor, f2.2 glass, unfortunately lacking OIS, but not a huge issue, and a device that can shoot UHD video at 30 FPS or 720p at 240 FPS. Now, these days, in 2018, that's not going to blow anyone away. However, in a phone this small from 2 years ago, it holds up really well, and if you're really into taking photos, this phone is still great. It's not a Pixel, and it's not a Pixel 2, it's not an iPhone 8, but it is definitely a great camera as long as you're in good light. And that's really good because most phones that are so small always skimp out on the camera for some reason. Having those video recording modes, that efficient camera app, and that seamless experience is really nice in a phone, especially in 2018, where we seem to have all these extra modes, portrait modes, lenses, everything like this. Very simple, straight to the point, it just works, and that's what I really like about the SE's camera. The videos and photos that you get from this are going to be good. HDR isn't hugely aggressive, but it is something that I think you should use most of the time. I really like the dynamic range, the sharpness, the clarity, the vibrance, everything from these photos, and that just makes for some great social media posts. The fingerprint scanner is something that it's there, but it's really not that good in 2018. It is Touch ID first gen, meaning it's quite slow, it's not incredibly responsive, and 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get an error and you're going to have to do it more than once, maybe only twice, but that's still one more time than I should be able to do it. Using Touch ID to unlock the phone is okay, but again, it's nice to have it there, but it's just not very good. And in my opinion, it's probably the reason I wouldn't buy this phone, along with the front camera. There are a few issues with the iPhone SE. I'm not saying it's a perfect phone. I seem to be hyping it up a lot. But let me get to the price, because that's important. £150 gets you a 32GB model, which for an iPhone 6S caliber iPhone SE is fantastic. I really like that this is an option, not only because of its power or its camera, because I'm sure you can get phones around this price with the same kinds of displays, same kinds of cameras, everything like that, and even better ones, but it's the size, it's the form factor that a lot of people still love. That's probably the reason they haven't switched to Android yet, is because they want that form factor, and that's something that Apple gives you with the SE. The device might not be for everyone, and it's definitely not for me, but it's for those of you who really want a small device, whether it be Android or iOS, this is one of the perfect models for you. With a timeless design, seamless software, and a fantastic build quality. And that's about it from me. I'm really sorry about the audio, it's a very busy road outside, and I'm in a new location right now whilst I set up my desk in the other room. Thank you so much for Stan for lending me this SE, or he came around and helped me shoot the video of it for a couple of hours, and that was amazing. Thank you so much for that. Follow him on Instagram because he's an awesome kid. And I want to thank my patrons for being amazing. Also follow me on social media because it helps me out, and please do like, dislike, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. My name's been Ryan Thomas for Fail Tech. The SE is a great phone, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.